Coming up next on this special edition of the RCWR show with Lee Sanders, we're sitting down with one of the producers for Vice's Dark Side of the Ring, Evan Husney. We're talking all things about this second season, particularly what was it like filming the Chris Benoit episode, which by now you guys have seen part 1 that is available on YouTube. Part 2 is going to be essentially the season premiere that kicks things off for the new second season of Dark Side of the Ring this Tuesday night, March the 24th at 9 p.m. Eastern on Vice. Check your local listings, cable satellite providers. You can also check it out on the app. If you want some more bonus content to check out, I will actually be reviewing that Benoit episode, as I was able to see an advanced screening days before. I actually was able to see part 1 and 2 fused together. So after you get done with this, make sure you show some love and check out my thoughts on the full Chris Benoit episode that's kicking off the season 2 premiere of Dark Side of the Ring. But for now, kick on back, enjoy this conversation with Dark Side of the Ring's producer, Evan Husney.
Warning, the RCWR show with Lee Sanders is intended for a mature audience only. The following is an Infinity One Productions presentation, keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive. Covering the latest in wrestling, entertainment, and beyond. Since 2011, you're listening to the RCWR show. Now, your host, live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., Lee Sanders.
Thanks for taking the time out to do this. Nice to have you on the show once again. How you been? How you handling the whole coronavirus epidemic?
Oh, man. Thanks for having me back. It's tough. We're still not done producing the show. We're not done finishing with season 2, so it's definitely made it a little more difficult with everyone working from home. But we just want everyone to stay safe and just hoping that we can all get through this thing as quickly as possible, but it's safely too.
Yes, definitely. Most importantly, safely. I gotta tell you, I watched a advanced screening of the season 2 premiere of the Benoit Tragedy, and can I just say, as a wrestling fan, that was really emotional to go through. And I'm sure, I mean, my God, man, I remember how it was in real time. And I remember vividly watching the Raw Chris Benoit tribute episode. I bawled like a little baby. I think at that point I was 20, somewhere in my early 20s when that had went down. And I just remember me and my friends in front of that TV bawling our eyes out. And I got to tell you, that episode, to kick it off for this season 2 premiere, you all did such a phenomenal job, just from a production standpoint, and
wow. Thank you.
I really sincerely mean that, really taking your time from a production standpoint and from a storytelling standpoint, because we all know there was so much myth that was out there, a lot of conspiracy theories that was out there. And I have a 2-part question for you, which is, what was it like for you living as a fan through that whole tragedy initially? But then what was it like for you to come back all these years later behind the scenes producing such a powerful episode?
Well, I mean, basically my history with, the Chris Benoit story, when I was growing up in the 90s, going in middle school and high school, I was aware of Chris Benoit, from WCW, all those Nintendo 64 games, and all that stuff. I mean, that's how I kind of got introduced to him. And I kind of checked out of wrestling. I mean, I was a huge wrestling fan all the way through up until probably the year 2000-ish. And so as soon as he hit WWE, I wasn't really paying much attention at that point. And it was kind of one of my blind spots of wrestling around that time. And, obviously when the news had hit in 2007 of what happened, obviously that drew my attention and I just couldn't believe it. And it was so incomprehensible, and such a devastating tragedy. And so, obviously as I've gotten back into wrestling, which I probably did within the last, 10 or so years, it's something that I've gone back and revisited and, read a lot of books and just listened to a lot of information about it. And, for us, obviously, if we're doing a series that tackles some of the heavier, controversial, stories that have happened in wrestling, I mean, this is probably one of the bigger ones. So we knew that we should try to cover it. But the only way that we should do that, we felt, was trying to cover it or trying to interview and speak to the people that it affected the most and people that were as intimate and close with the Benoit family. And that's what we tried to do. And it wasn't really until I had met Chavo Guerrero Jr. He was the first person I reached out to about this project. And we got him to see our Bruiser Brody episode. And from there, he became a fan of the show and really liked us. And we love him. He's a great, great person. And he just kind of, helped us navigate this story. And he also helped us by introducing us to most of the people you see on camera in that episode, which I don't think would be possible without him. Well, he's actually a producer on the episode with us. And he introduced us to a lot, to Chris Jericho, David Benoit, Sandra, who's Nancy's sister, Dean Malenko, and he helped us forge those relationships to be able to earn that trust and tell this story from such an intimate point of view. And so Chavo, just can't say enough about him and how instrumental he was in putting it together.
A very well-produced, very comprehensive episode, I feel. Very, very, very good. And I really mean that. And I couldn't help but notice.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Most welcome. I couldn't help but notice that you got pretty much every single body connected to the tragedy, even from Vicky Guerrero and everything. But there was one name that I was noticing, and there was just a brief little mention of him. Kevin Sullivan. Now, I saw the comments that he made with regards to the allegations. He said, no, that is false. But was an olive branch extended to him to appear on this episode and he declined? Scheduling just didn't align. What was going on with him?
Yeah. So, we obviously really would have preferred to have Kevin in the show and for Kevin to speak for himself. That was always the plan. Jason and I, Jason makes the show with me. Jason and I are huge fans of Kevin and have always been just a huge fan of like his era with Nancy, the Fallen Angel, and the Kevin Sullivan gimmick. It was just one of the best wrestling gimmicks of all time. Yeah, for my money. So we really wanted to have him on board for this project. And the simplest answer is that when I reached out to him and I spoke to him, he felt that basically I realized I was stepping into a very complicated family situation. And that's not something that's not the first time that's happened in trying to make the show, is that you realize obviously, these are real people and they have real lives and families are complicated. For this, it just was a really complicated scenario for him in order to participate in the show, which was unfortunate because I think that had he appeared, I think it would have been even better. It just would have been even better to hear from him.
I agree. But with what you had, not for nothing, and I won't spoil it for the listeners, but when they see every single body that you all were able to interview for this episode, I think you all, honestly, you did real good. You did good. And another question I have for you is, why select this episode particular for your season 2 premiere? Was this particularly, I might be answering my own question, but you could correct me if I'm wrong. Was this a case where you really wanted to grab the fan by the hand, especially those that were with you for the season 1 ride, and say, hey, we are kicking it off on all cylinders? Or was this just really about not necessarily quality and production of each episode, because for each episode, it's consistent, the quality and the production. It's always there. What was your all's mindset in having this one be your opener?
Well, this is a story that we've been thinking about for a long time. We actually, after we finished production on season 1, before we ever knew that, when season 1 would ever be released, well before we knew we'd even the concept of a season 2 was on the horizon, we actually, Jason and I were developing doing the Benoit documentary, doing that as a totally separate project, separate from Dark Side of the Ring, as something that we would just do as its own standalone film. And so, we probably spent about 5 to 6 months of time on our own researching and developing that project. By the time season 2 actually came around and was greenlit, we already had such a head start in terms of having our heads in the story and kind of figuring out how we wanted to tell it and just felt really prepared. So it kind of was mostly just like, we could start this right away, which we did. As soon as we got up and running with season 2, it was hitting the ground running making the show. But we knew from all the development that we had done that there was no way to tell this story in a single hour. It had to at least be 2 hours. And so that was kind of the idea of like, well, if it's going to be a 2-hour, two-parter episode, it also could be the premiere of the season. It could be the season premiere, which would make it a big event. And that was kind of the thought process.
Got you. And then I got to ask you, you may have forgotten this, but this will probably remind you from our last conversation, especially when we got off the air initially. How is the joint coming along for my girl, Mildred Burke?
Oh, right. That's right. I do remember that. Yeah, I mean, it was tough. I mean, like, again, who knows, maybe a season 3. But the thing with Mildred Burke was like, I'm basically just more so taking the episodes for season 2.
Yeah.
It was mostly kind of just about like, we'd reached out to people on social media. Like, what do you want to see?
Mm-hmm.
And a week tallying up everyone's responses, like meticulously.
Mm-hmm.
And then, season 2, like that lineup is pretty close to what that list wound up being, with like a few exceptions. And, so Mildred Burke didn't make the cut on that, but I will say, like, I don't know, like, that would be a tricky one to do because it's like, she's from such an era where not many people are probably less think about it firsthand.
Yeah.
And the more that I've thought about the Mildred Burke story would just be a much more kick-ass like movie. Like a scripted movie.
Yeah, it would.
So maybe that's the arena for it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Tell the folks who you all got coming up for this second season that they should be peeping out for. We already gave them Benoit, but what else is going to be cooking for season 2?
Yeah, so week after next will be the Hugh Jack episode, which is one that is low key one of my favorite episodes of the whole season. It just was kind of an unexpected. It just kind of was an unexpected result, I think, with that episode. A lot of people had been wanting us to cover his ECW career, wanting us to cover the mass transit story, the incident that happened with him in ECW. And it was kind of like, well, can we do a full hour out of that? And then it kind of just was like, the more we researched about Jack, the more we actually got to know about him as a person and his life and the other incidences, shall we say, that have taken place with him in the ring. We realized we had like a big story more so, about almost the nature of performance and the line between performance and, real violence, and then he was just a fantastic interview. Like literally, I would put him in the top 5 interviews that we've done on the show. And so that episode I'm really excited about. So you have that. You have the 2 episodes that we tried to, include as part of season 1, which we finally finished, which is, the Brawl for All, tournament, episode.
Nice.
And as well as the murder of Dino Bravo, which are 2 stories we started, last season and we were able to finish this season. And both of those are super exciting. And you have, let's see, it's hard to keep them all straight. You have the Dr. D. David Schultz story, which is like the chronicle of, his encounter with a 2020 news reporter, which is pretty infamous, and has been a viral video for many years. So we went back and hung out with Dr. D and got his story, which is fantastic. We re-examined the Jimmy Snuka controversy, the death of his girlfriend, Nancy Argentino, and is or isn't he responsible for that? That's one of the more, dizzying and investigative episodes of the season. And then we also look at a profile piece on the Road Warriors, which, is Jason and I's probably some of our favorite wrestlers of all time are the Road Warriors. And so this was just an excuse for us to, express our diehard fan, appreciation for them. And, one of the more deep cut stories that we're doing is a story on Herb Abrams and the UWF. It's a story about a wrestling fan turned promoter, whose ill-fated wrestling company basically, imploded, quite quickly and spectacularly. That's going to be a very, very, very entertaining episode. I cannot wait for that one. And then the episode that, one of the ones that I'm more excited about in terms of how it's coming together and, again, being a very, very emotional, story, is the story about the final days of Owen Hart, which is a story that I'm, got a lot of personal investment in.
Yes. I can't wait. Now that one, I'm looking forward to seeing you all's take on that, because I don't know if you got a chance to watch it yet, but I recently had watched Stone Cold's Broken Skull sessions, and he was talking with Bret Hart. And they did dedicate they did dedicate a little portion of talking about Owen and everything. But to actually, after all of these years, see Martha Hart, and because it's very seldom she gives people an opportunity for interviews and all that, it's really going to be awesome to see in you all's realm, what all she has to say about Owen and his legacy and all that. I know how passionate Brett feels about the situation, but I can't wait to see what you guys are going to be able to do with that one. For the Jimmy Snuka one, I'm curious, were you guys able to interview, I'm trying to think of his name. I think he was a reporter and he wrote a couple of books about the tragedy. I think his name was Munchnick.
Oh, Irv Munchnick.
That's it. Yeah. Did you all get a chance to talk to him for the Snuka piece? You did?
Yeah. We talked to Irv for the story. He was one of the guys that actually kept the story alive for many years, because it wasn't really reported at the time of the incident back in 1983. It wasn't reported that much. Mm-hmm. And it kind of vanished quickly after that. And Irv, being, someone to always cover wrestling controversies, he's kind of kept it alive in certain ways on the internet and in the realms of the rumor mill for many, many years. And he was an instrumental resource to a lot of the journalists and some of the other folks that reinvestigated the case 30 years after the fact. So he was a crucial part of the story.
Okay, awesome. And then, switching gears just a little bit, following up on what we talked about earlier, you did say that with regards to the production of this season, it has kind of, with the coronavirus, things have kind of gotten a little disrupted a little bit. How has it been just in your eyes overall, everything that's been happening in pro wrestling with the coronavirus? I want to get your 2 cents from a distance on all this craziness that's going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely surreal. Just seeing, what's been happening with the world and public events and entertainment it just shows you how many things are being affected by this. I, have to admit that I haven't seen a lot of the no audience wrestling events that have been going on in the last couple of weeks. Yeah. I've seen clips. I saw Cody Rhodes' speech that he gave on Wednesday, which I thought was just awesome, just tremendous, and it's nice to see it being acknowledged, and it's nice for that. I think people need that kind of they need to feel uplifted, in like a time like this. Yes. And I think he's such a good voice for something like that, and I thought that was just done so well. In just the clip that I saw. But Jason and I as fans have always fantasized about the idea of, producing a wrestling show or producing like a wrestling event and what that would be like, and kind of having some more radical ideas. And I think on the bright side of things, having a no audience event, if I were tasked with the challenge of producing a WrestleMania with no audience, I think that would be an incredibly unique and exciting challenge to try and figure out. I don't think you could just do it with no audience and then have it be the same. I think you have to do it completely differently, and you have to really embrace those limitations and figure out some creative solution to do it, which would be really hard because wrestling does depend on an audience reaction. So how do you do that? But I think it would be an interesting challenge. So hopefully this displacement and in terms of everyone having to be, quarantined, hopefully this isn't something that, lingers on for too long. And things can kind of go back to a sense of normalcy. But, I do applaud everyone who is, trying to deliver entertainment and deliver, something to get their mind off of, all of it, do the best we can in the most constructive way. So, that's been great to see.
It is, especially at these times, because when it's all said and done, shows like what you and Jason are doing with Dark Side of the Ring, the timing of it is perfect right now, because We don't have NHL, not yet. We don't have basketball.
Yeah.
Take your pick. We don't even have the XFL right now. So it's kind of like, what do we have? So it's nice to get some type of content, be it AEW or WWE, or in this case, Dark Side of the Ring. And hey, we got to do some strong plugging for you guys. Make sure that everybody checks out the season premiere. So once again, we got season 2 premiere of Dark Side of the Ring. It is going to be going down Tuesday night of March 24th, 9 p.m. Eastern. And one thing I definitely want to stress to the listeners when you all get ready to watch this season premiere, again, coming up on Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, by the end of it, I guarantee you all are going to be rooting on David Benoit, because to just see how the industry as a whole really did him at a time when he really needed a friend the most, some family the most, to see how the wrestling business had did him. Yeah, you just can't help but root him on. Yeah, seriously. If you guys are not sure if you got Vice TV, check your respected cable satellite providers. You can also check out vicetv.com, the Vice app on iOS, Android, Apple TV, and Chromecast. Once again, season 2 premiere of Dark Side of the Ring on Viceland this Tuesday night. Evan, it was great talking to you once again. Definitely got to follow up with you down the road, man.
I hope so. All right.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you. All right. Now you take care, brother. Once again, special shout out to Vice TV and special shout out to Evan from Dark Side of the Ring. Was a great honor to have him back on the show. So I do want to know what you guys have thought about the season premiere of Dark Side of the Ring. So sound off, let me know, because I'm most curious what you guys think about it so far. I know at this point, many of you at the time that we're dropping this will have only seen part 1. I know there's definitely most of you guys out there that's try to go out of your way, and with some digging, you may have been able to watch the second part of this season premiere. Let me know what y'all had thought about the episode and everything, because I'm most curious. And hey, we got some more great interviews that's going to be lined up, so definitely keep it right here. I can tell you that the way things are looking right now, we're going to have a WWE Hall of Famer stop by the show sometime before the month is out. It's a pretty big name. That's all I can say for right now, but you guys are definitely going to be digging it. I promise you. For all the very latest Be Kind Rewind, check out previous episodes of the RCWR show you may have missed on demand and on the downloads. Use the keywords, the RCWR show. Yay. Be a Patreon member as well. Patreon.com/RCWR show. Check out bonus audio and video content, great majority of which you won't be able to find anywhere else. Get at me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Use the keywords, the RCWR show. If you appreciated this great conversation that I had with Evan, please go out of your way, share, like, comment. Really helps a ton. Do that in advance. And hey, appreciate the love. Until next go round, wishing all of y'all to be safe, especially during these times, and most importantly, be kind to one another. I'll see you next go round. Everybody, do take care.
Thanks for listening. An Infinity One Productions presentation, keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive.